And Dan Shaw was the lead commentator, and he spoke with Jay Sadler on the touchline after the defeat.
Jay, I think that's going to be one you look back on probably tomorrow in the coming days, and actually 4-0 is going to seem like a really harsh result.
Yeah, it does. Trying to kind of put your finger on it really is difficult. Losing the game 4-0, first and all, you've got to look at the 4 goals. I think they were poor goals to give away. In moments where I thought we were on top of the game, I thought we controlled the first kind of 15-20 minutes. We were the team with the ascendancy with the ball, trying to break down the block, and ultimately we've conceded from a counter-attack and a set piece, which is extremely disappointing. His second half, thought we made some structural changes, tried to get on the ball more, pin them back in for large periods without creating too much. That was probably the kind of disappointing thing, that we weren't able to get in behind the back line and really test the keeper. And ultimately when the third and fourth's gone in, the game's over, and it looks like a bad scoreline. It is a bad scoreline. It does hurt, but also it's difficult when we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot on 4 occasions, and I thought we had the lion's share of the ball, and I thought we were in the game all the way. But ultimately football is about scoring at one end and not conceding at the other, and today we were in both boxes, not good enough.
Yeah, wind it back, because the first goal, I've said in commentary, that's the first real moment in the game where Southampton showed some brilliance, some quality, where the game wasn't dead rubber, dead level. Of course, Southampton had a little bit more of the ball at times and in different areas looked better. But actually, on the whole, in the first half, it was pretty level until that moment. And then it's a poor goal to concede for the corner, in it. So it's just, again, I don't think there's a lot in terms of the quality there. There's just moments again for you, isn't it, that's cost you?
Yeah, and I agree. I think between both boxes, it was an even game. It was a contested game. There were momentum shifts. I thought we started well. I thought they come back into the game, and ultimately, big decisions need to go for and against you in the boxes. And unfortunately, they've hit us on a transition. We've all narrowed off recovery runs. We didn't scan and see the player at the back post, and they've punished. And it was a well-worked goal, but ultimately we can do better with defending the space and beyond. And then from corners, we've worked on all week how they're going to attack the front post zone, and we've allowed the player to run off the shoulder, get the free header, and ultimately find yourself 2-0 down in a game that I don't think was a 2-0 game. However, they've created the 2 moments, as you said. They've taken the 2 moments, and we found ourselves at a bit of a mountain to climb. And I thought we did some good work in the first half. We got into the final third. We created moments. There's 3 massive calls for penalties that have not been given. We've looked back on them, and I'm disappointed at least one of them wasn't given. Jess Simpson's come right through the back of Megan Hornby, not given. Amy Goddard's played a second one on Megan Hornby. And I don't know what Meg's got to do to get a penalty, or what we've got to do to get a penalty. We had a massive shout against Newcastle, not given. So I'd love to know the explanation behind them. So they're difficult moments in a game like this when I felt that could have shifted the ascendancy. And then in the second half, again, everything had a lot more of the ball, created good moments up into the final third, and then we conceded 2 goals and lost the game 4-0. So it hurts, it's disappointing. There's a lot of emotion there, but I think once we give the dust a bit of time to settle on the game, we've really got to look and pick the bones out of it, because I don't think between both boxes I thought we were worthy. We competed well, but ultimately in the 18 boxes, both 18 boxes, we weren't good enough today.
For what it's worth, I thought one of them was and the rest weren't as well, and I was a little bit surprised by that. At half-time, it's a strange one, because you feel like you should be all doom and gloom at 2-0 down at half-time, but the guys are talking there at half-time on the show, and they were a little bit downtrodden, disheartened. But I said, look, this game it's not away from us at the moment. I think there's not been. I didn't look at Southampton's squad and Pompey squad and the way they faced up and felt as though Southampton were majorly a better side. And I definitely saw that if you could get to grips with it and cut out a couple of individual errors, stay a little bit more compact as a unit, that opportunity would come. And actually, even with 15 minutes to go, I was saying, I still fancy it. If they get that next one, it's game on. 5 minutes later, I'm saying, I can't believe I'm saying it, but it's game over now. It is just moments, isn't it? But what was it that you said at half-time that brought them out in the second half the way they did? Because I thought the performance actually was fantastic up until that third goal that they scored.
Yeah, I agree. And I said to them at half-time that the game's not gone. Genuinely believe if we can get a moment and take it, then the momentum will shift. The crowd will probably start to get agitated, and they've obviously won 1 of 5 in the league, so this was a big one for them to try and propel themselves away from kind of the bottom cluster within the league. And I felt we just needed to get a little bit more connectivity higher. I felt everyone was dropping towards the ball too much, and we were leaving our top line isolated, and we weren't able to. So I think as soon as we got Sophie Barker playing in between their front 2, our 8s playing higher, 9s playing higher, wing backs playing higher, make this pitch even bigger than what it is, we were able then to get on the ball loads. And I thought some real good patterns. I was really happy with how we kind of controlled the game with the ball, but it was the turnover moments that I wasn't happy with. The rest of the defence, as soon as we lost the ball, we then looked fragile in the transition. What if we lose it? Are we prepared to then defend? Where are the spaces? Who were their threats? And they played that well. And like you said, all the way through to 70, 75, I thought we're trying to roll the dice, trying to change it, trying to create moments where one goal and the whole game changes. And unfortunately, the goal went in our goal, 3-0. Then it went to 4, and then you're thinking damage limitation in terms of don't allow any more. We want to see a mentally resolute team at 3-0, and unfortunately, the errors, the individual errors, the individual moments where we need to be concentrated better. We need to have better decision making, better detail. They're really easily avoidable goals, and I don't want to pin players and pin it down to them, but ultimately that's the level when you step up to the WSL2.
It's another thing I said. It just seemed the difference wasn't necessarily in the feet; it was in the mind at times. Just those little individual moments where Pompey switched off, and you'd get punished for those mistakes, and we know that, so we won't go into that. But look, getting the goals is obviously going to be tough. Hornby, I thought, played really well tonight. She didn't get her goal, but you've got to look around the pitch for players who are going to be able to get goals. Gale's gone now. That's 4 goals out the side. Where do you look to? How are you going to go about getting some players in, maybe through the door, or trying to get people to step up to find those goals now?
Yeah, well, we've had the conversations with the board, and they're really supportive of us to try and get some numbers in, and especially in attacking areas. As you said, I thought Meg Hornby, I thought Han Cohn, I thought them two really stood out for us today, and Meg was one of the players that had the impetus to try and get us a goal even towards the end, dancing through players and a shot going over. She was threatening today. Ange Nixon is a player, maybe the game didn't work out in her favour in terms of the spaces weren't there for her to attack, but she certainly got the quality. Tia Primmer's got the quality, so we've definitely got the quality, but now it's for them to now start converting that quality into moments and into goals, as well as us also looking in the market to try and obviously replace Jessie Gale, because it's a hard one to take. It's a disappointing loss. We felt she was developing well with us, and obviously Arsenal made a decision to take her to Bristol City, and we respect that. But obviously now that we've lost a member of our firepower, and we've obviously now got to look at it, whether it's structurally or whether it's positionally, trying to find ways to not only prevent the goals as conceded 4 today, but also to threaten the back line more so.
5 points clear of the relegation spot. That's a good start to be, a good place to be rather. So I don't think I've ever stood in front of a manager after losing 4-0 and going, it's not all that bad. There's some positives here, and we'll go again soon. And then we've got a couple of big, important fixtures coming up, and I'm assuming you'll look to those to bounce back from. Yeah,
definitely. And I think it'll take me 24, 48 hours to start looking at and seeing the positives. A lot of emotion right now. Obviously, being at the club for 10 years, you know how big these games are. Well, I think we haven't won in the last 10 of them. So for me, it's a really difficult one to take. And I think it's going to hurt me. And I said to the players, it's going to hurt them. And I hope it does. I hope this moment resonates and it sticks in our mind. And everything we look to do now is to improve and get better. Once the emotion's gone, the dust settled, and we look at it, we look at moments to grow, we look at moments where we've had the positives that we can build upon. There are plenty more games. There's 10 more games where we can pick up points. As you said, there's a 5-point gap between us and Ipswich. We obviously want to grow that, and we feel we're a team that are moments away from really competing with some of the teams in and around us, like Southampton, Sheffield, Sunderland, Durham. And now for us, it's back to kind of how we stick together and ensure that we can now translate the moments into points, because that's what we need. Is we want to keep making points. We want to start looking up, not keep looking over our shoulder. So 10 games to go, 30 points. How many can we get now?
Yeah, those there, the post